People of the world, welcome back to Send It Rising. I'm a very happy camper. And one of the reasons I'm a happy camper is that over the last 24 hours, I have decided to focus specifically on gratitude. Have you ever tried this? Have you ever, when a thought crosses your mind, you think to yourself, okay, I see you thought, but I'm going to think of something grateful. So every thought that enters my head, I either make that thought into a grateful thought or I come up with a grateful thought after that particular thought comes in. I feel like many of the world's most happy, most successful people have an attitude of gratitude. And our guest today is going to increase your gratitude because he has a very inspiring story that we're going to dive into in just a moment. But before we do, have you ever been at the doctor's office? Your butt hits the seat and they hand you a pen and a piece of paper, and you're thinking to yourself, what year is it? What is happening right now? Seriously, a pen and a piece of paper? I have access to all human knowledge in my pocket, and you are handing me a pen and a piece of paper to write down my information. This is ridiculous. Our guest today solves these problems. He is the harbinger of the future. He is a guru. He is a very smart man. Cloud technology is not easy, and we're going to learn all about it. Our guest today, the one, the only, Jaswant, Tony. Welcome to the show, Jaswant.
Thank you.
All right, so let's dive into it. There's all these people out there that are running around in doctors' offices, and they're very upset because it takes forever to get to the doctor. The doctor doesn't necessarily want to give you a piece of paper and a pencil to solve, this information need that they have. What do you do to make lives better?
Well, with our new system, what we have done, everything is electronic, and I hate paper myself. Every time I go to the doctors, and again, what you just said, what year are we in? Are we still dealing with the papers? And many times, I just want to walk away. I didn't want to even fill it out paper. But where did you go? There's not very many place, and I have. Built this system and completely eliminating any papers, consent forms, filling out the information before even going to the doctor. They'll send you a link. You can fill it out everything, and that way you're saving their time, saving your time, and you getting right into your appointment, and then you can take care of your business and go home. So rather than just sitting and filling out every piece of paper, one of the best thing what we do and what we in process of doing it, how many people really know their whole medical history? Where you been, when did you have last your x-ray or MRI or whatever. They give you a piece of papers and stuff, but the thing is, how do you keep everything and where do you keep it? There's no centralized place where you can keep your life history, and things changes so much, and then you just lose track. And with us, what we trying to do, we that way you have one place, you have your whole your history, health history, and then you can share whatever you comfortable with. So that way you don't have to look up your medication, you don't have to look up your x-ray, you don't have to look up any of those things.
Yeah, I appreciate HIPAA. I understand where they're coming from when they're trying to protect medical data. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that we don't want our medical data just like meandering around the internet. But at the same time, personally, I don't care. I don't care if especially with my doctors, I'm going to give them the information anyway. I have always thought that it is incredibly stupid that I can't just show up at a doctor's office and have them like scan a QR code or give them a link and there it all is. Like, here you go. Like, here's all the information. Like, why do I keep filling out this same information over and over? And it reminds me of just how we're not there yet technologically. It's crazy how long it takes us sometimes just to catch up to what I think is a totally normal sort of environment, which is here's my little website with all my medical information. It's secure, it's protected. I give it to the doctor and now there's no questions and they're more likely to not make as many mistakes. So is my understanding today that if I go to a doctor, they have no access to any of my medical information until I give it to them. Is that
That's
true?
correct. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the worst part is, you have like when you're doing first visit, how the doctor be able to understand your whole life history? If you give them a link and the link will automatically will customize, personalize your information and indicate where the issues are. So doctor can only focus where the issues are and, give you the best treatment. And now doctor has to guess and doing all those things. I personally doesn't like that. I want to give them a correct information. I want to get the proper treatment. And believe it or not, I have many even friends, they go to the doctor and never happy. They didn't think doctor's doing the job because doctor doesn't even know what to do with you. They don't even have the full understanding what's going on with yourself. And then if they're not spending enough time with you and they have so many patients per day they got to see, and you're not going to get the treatment. And then many people is very unhappy because they keep taking medication. Even my wife, I've been through like so many doctors, and now she found a doctor and listen, took almost 3 hours first consultation, 3 hours. And
Oh,
now she's taking medication. She is super happy and working. It does what it's supposed to do, and it takes time.
I can't I cannot believe that I was right. Because as a kid, when you're a kid, you don't really understand how the world works and you're trying to piece things together. And I would go to a dentist or a doctor and I would think to myself, do they share? Right? And I didn't know until this conversation that they don't. Honestly, at 38 years old, I am now learning that they probably have to get some sort of like permission to get medical documents from another doctor. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Insane, totally insane. And your solution, which is okay, that instead of making it almost impossible for the doctor to do their job because they're highly paid, and I get it, they can't sit there for 3 hours with you if they've got a ton, if they want the money to pay off their student loans. Like, I'm not saying it's the doctor's fault. Okay, I'm not. There's a lot of bad doctors out there, but I'm not saying that the doctor isn't doing a good enough job. What I'm saying is, what can the patient do to empower the doctor? And that's precisely what you're saying. You're saying, okay,
Yeah.
instead of blaming the doctor, which again, there's probably, I guarantee you there's a lot of terrible doctors out there. Why don't you show up and say, here's my life history?
Correct. Because we want to give a patient control over their own history, not controlling doctors your history, not having a doctors holding up your personal stuff. You move around to different doctors, you move around to different countries, states, and you should have your all history with you, not with the doctor you had to chase to get your history. Hey, can you send to this doctor? Can you send to that doctor? Why would you do that? You should control your own history and share with the people you want to share, and it's more protected.
I feel like you're starting the Facebook of medical history, right?
Yep.
Right? Because you have Facebook, obviously. That oh, hey, my friend Rich is in chat. He writes, "It is also the system. Malpractice suits are everywhere. Doctors work from a risk management perspective rather than a patient first perspective." And his point is well taken, right? So doctors are afraid. They don't, right? The last thing they want to do is share medical information and get a violation from HIPAA, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, Rich makes a good point. I went to an eye doctor once to get my, what do you call it? Your prescription. And I left and then I called them later and I said, "Hey, can I get my prescription?" Because I was going to go order glasses online because it's much cheaper nowadays than buying them in the store or at the optometrist. And they would not give it, they wouldn't do it. They're like, "We will not provide you your prescription over the phone. You have to physically come in." And I was so angry. I'm like, I have to go drive 30 minutes, right? Like, risk traffic, risk my life on the highway to go get something that you could tell me over the phone because you're not comfortable telling me my prescription. It's not that serious. Like, why are you freaking out? It's so, so stupid. And so So this idea of you building the Facebook of medical information, Facebook has all the pictures. Well, I shouldn't say, it depends if you use it or not, but pictures of our family. It's got all these memories. You know, memories on Facebook.
Of course.
10 years ago, this happened, this and that, and whatever. I mean, I don't remember the MRI scan I got on my hip. I don't even remember who did it. Right. So I have to go like traipsing around to try to find all this information to give to my current doctor. I love what you're doing. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, we're happy to, put this new system and put the control over to the end user rather than, having that doctor control over your history.
So how do we get, because here's the other thing. So some people might see this as a chore, right? Let's say you're like 45 years old, 50 years old, you have a ton of medical history. You don't want to go get all that stuff. You don't want to have to go call, you know. So what's your recommendation to people that are feeling anxious about getting started and putting their information into this portal?
Well, most people we have that they just start off. They start filling out information and putting information, and it makes it easier. Most are patients they're doing that already.
Okay. So you feel that a lot of people aren't that they're not that concerned with filling it out.
No, I haven't seen any pushback from most end users. So they when they see there is a benefit to it and they having a control. One of the biggest thing for our system is we do not have any kind of you know uh, sharing information with anybody. All the information is completely private. And I personally like to keep myself private information. Don't want to share with the social media and all the different things. And you can do yourself whatever you want to, but our system will try to keep you more as a private, so that way we can build our trust between the end users and our system. It's super important because we have very high profile customers to utilize our system because of that, because the way our system is and the way we protect personally everybody's data.
Yeah. So I'm going to push back a little bit on that because there was this. Did you hear about the Twitter
Yeah.
hack that happened not
Hmm.
too long ago? So my understanding was that these hackers would call in to Twitter and they would start, because it's a gigantic corporation. Nobody knows what anyone else is doing, right? They're just tens of thousands of employees, right? So they would call in and they would just get little bits of information. Oh, your name is James. Oh, your last name is Ongawan. And they'll talk to someone else and they're like, oh yeah, Ongawan told me the other day that this, that, and whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, James over in that support thing. And they just maneuvered their way slowly, slowly, slowly until they finally busted into Twitter. And pretty soon Barack Obama is tweeting about why you should click on this link for Bitcoin to deposit your Bitcoin for some whatever. And so things can get hacked. It happens, so you
Right.
must be a really good security expert, right?
Well, that's what my whole life has been. I want to protect data as possible. My whole life, I never choose email, Gmail, and Yahoo mails. I never trusted, and I would, because nobody read their disclaimer, and
No, of course not.
everybody like to use free stuff. And my whole life, from day one, I had my personal domain, personal mail server, never trusted public. And that's how I feel like building this system. And the client, we deal with a very high profile client, and they knew who I was and what my background is and how I like to protect the data. Is that is important from the company higher level management, who they are and how they protect the data. That's how you build your credibility in the market.
Okay, so you're saying that on a fundamental personality level from the beginning of time, you have been like a shield, right?
Yes.
You're like a suit of armor. That's just how you are when it comes to data.
That's correct.
Is okay, now I got to dive into your childhood. So why is it, like, what happened to you as a kid that you are decided to become like a shield, right? Because you're basically protecting this information that you don't want people to share. So why is that?
Well, I always fascinated with the technology. technology is one of my inspiring, things in my whole life. And originally from India and leaving India in a very early age, and coming to US was very challenging. And coming to US wasn't everything just given to me. And work all kind of different places. And I was a welder for 7 years. I was a helper, and did a lot of grinding, wine tanks, and all the stuff. So
Okay, hold on. Stop. So you said you were a welder?
for 7 years.
I have never met a welder who turned into a cloud IT expert. Those two things seem very different to me.
I was one of the best welder, and out there. And I built a first a robot. Actually, the people was using manual, and then I built a robot can able to do automated. And that's where my whole thing came from. My life be creator. So this is whole thing come from I created that. Then I work with the iStream Planet, the company we previously got sold out to Warner Media, and I built that technology, and that was also being created, and then coming to this technology and being created again. So whole life is finding the weakness and finding how I can do the better job, not for myself, to the world, and hand over to the technology, so that way everybody can enjoy it. And there's many people, I face people who has 30-year experience, 50-year experience, and they said no way. And I was like, okay, you know what, I can tell you, it's no way that little kid can come from 50 people in the village, 50 houses in the village, come to US and building technology and the world using it. That's no way right there. No way that can happen. So there are things, challenges can happen, but you have to be passionate at what you do, and you have to be confident at what you do. So those are two things to my super important. I'm very passionate at what I do, and what I deliver and create, and I'm very confident on that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to go back to the welding because to me, you're still welding. You're just welding a giant it's like I can imagine this giant treasure chest, right?
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
inside this giant treasure chest with all these like perfectly beaded welds around it, almost like this iron steel looking treasure chest thing. And inside of it, there's all of these people's medical information.
There you go.
Know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
and there's like you could just imagine like millions and millions of pieces of paper like all filed away in this treasure chest, right? And
Correct.
it's even more wild than that. So it's kind of like the multiverse, right? So it's not just one treasure chest. It's like, I mean, how many people have their information with you right now? What's the number? Or is that you
Well,
can't share that?
well, I can share. I think so. Right now we got like over 6 millions.
6 million?
Yeah.
So you got 6 million treasure chests, right? 6 million of these iron welded little, you know what I mean? So you basically mass produced these I don't
Remember,
know.
this is not like we came from like 10 years, something like that. What we built, if I had been hired by somebody to do the job what we did for ourselves, it would have taken me 5 to 6 years to do that aggressively. What we did in here in 2 years, and we have stepped on people's toe. And I've been getting calls, and all kind of companies who want reaching out. And in the company we work with, there's a very very high profile Fortune 500 companies. We work with, and they are well known in the world. Some companies name I can't even mention yet, but
Right.
we work with a very very high profile customers. And within 2 years, and one of the best part for our company is we bootstrap our company from nothing,
Yeah.
and we didn't took any money from anybody, and completely privately funded. And every employee is enjoying working, and they some of them is actually big to came and work for us. And
Sure.
I'm very very much is taking care of every one employee, and we have all kind of benefits good fun stuff, we offer, and we give them incentive and all those things. And then we are profitable. Those are the three things, super important, right? You have no debt, and you are profitable, and then you have high profile customers. I mean, what else you need in
I
2 years?
mean, did you okay, so now I gotta get into the spiritual side of these things, because obviously the physical manifestation is GoMeyra as a successful company with happy employees, that's profitable, everything that you just mentioned, that's the outward manifestation. When you were welding, right, did you ever envision this specifically?
No,
So it
not
was
at all.
nowhere in there, but inside of your head, thoughts were running around, right? And so help me understand, because a lot of people, what they'll say is, "Oh, close your eyes or not." And then when a thought comes into your head, we redirect those thoughts towards our goals, right? We want our thoughts to serve us as opposed to hinder us. And so I got to know your psychology. So help me understand how you got here. Do you envision the future as a prosperous one? Do you see yourself healthy in the future? Like, what's your mental strategy?
Well, one thing I definitely conscious about, my health. I definitely want to stay healthy. I know there's a lot of things I want to achieve in my life, and I never even go too far. I just sometimes, most of the time, I just go with the flow, and the needs, and then continue to grow into it, and then one thing to another thing, another. But definitely keeping, myself healthy is most important. If you're not healthy and happy yourself, doesn't matter what you do, your output is not going to be aggressive enough for what I have right now. With the company environment, building the product or everything, it has to be personally come from the leadership, and the leader has to be healthy enough, and have a good conscience to think about things, and able to end of the day set the culture for the company and deliver the product and being successful. Those are the super important things. But if yourself is not healthy enough, and you're not organized enough, professional enough, and then I don't see, maybe you will make it through. But nothing was given to me just to, hey, here's something, millions of dollars, and you go have and do that. Every penny, everything, I have to work hard, and I have to work smart to able to, do where I'm at.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I get that. I like to envision the future. I like I feel like the house I live in now and the relationship I have now and my life as it stands now, like I feel like I pulled it into my experience. Does that make any sense? Like like I wanted it. You could just call it a goal. That'd be an easy way of kind of phrasing it, But a-
Definitely.
yeah, actively pulling these things into reality, like magic. Jaswant, that's what I'm trying to say. It feels like magic. It feels like
Well,
hard work, and all this stuff is just slow
I,
magic.
I I think it's a satisfaction is also a big thing. I got my custom house built out, very satisfying and everything. And then I never even thought, I will sell that house and go into something big or something different. Everything settling down. All of a sudden, we sold company, and then okay, now we have a money. What do we do? Well, let's look for something more interesting. Let's look for some different houses. So now we got a bigger house. Now, never thought about it. I mean, so you have a satisfaction level saying, hey, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. Now anything else happen, then I'll step up. Then I'll step up, do whatever based on what I got in my pocket. Not like, okay, I don't have in my pocket, but I want to dream big. But how do you get there? You know, and there are some things you can do that, but again you go with your comfort level, you just keep rising up, and that's how I started. And just step by step, and I right now I don't even know where I'm going to go. Things just every day things just go on, and it just keep changing every day. Before I thought, okay, this is it, and I settled in and done. Now I don't know, I
Hmm.
don't think I never be done.
Hey, that you know what I heard someone say the other day: to retire is to expire, right?
Exactly, never.
And I got to mention a couple of things. Well, the first is behind you. So if you're listening on the podcast later, you can't see this, so I'll describe what I'm seeing. So I see a piece of art, and all I see is the word thinking, and then the letters P, and I want to say O, and then there's a bag in front of it. So I can't read the rest of it. Does that say thinking positive?
Yes.
All right, so he's gonna go. He's backing up. He's moving the bag. There it is. There it is.
There you
See,
go.
you know what? I thought that's what it said, and that's why I think it's so funny because there it is, right? If you really need to boil down success, Jaswant literally has a piece of art behind him that says "thinking positive," right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. I always say, just don't worry about all the negative stuff. Think about positive. Just move positive and get rid of your all the negativity and everything. And the negativity is going to drag you down. Positivity is going to take you far long. You can't even think how far long you can go. And that's what happens. Stay positive and keep moving into the direction you want to move. And sometime you don't even know the direction you're going in is going to be credible.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it is really a success story. So I gotta go back because now I'm really curious. First of all, I gotta say something. Your welder past and the idea that you created all of these little treasure chests, you should use you know what I mean? Like when you go on other shows and stuff, you should talk about how you were a welder and because I feel like that is a very endearing backstory for you. When people hear that, I think they go, "Oh, welder." They know exactly what you're doing. They can see it in their head. And then you talk about welding these little iron treasure chests of medical information, and they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And then you're like, "We did it 6 million times," and they'll be like, "What?" And I just think you could take them on this really interesting visual journey by framing it that way. Because when I was reading your bio, I'll be honest, I was sort of like, I don't understand this man. I don't know really what he's doing. I can tell he's successful, right? That much is clear. But cloud IT technology for most folks like me, I'm like, Google Drive. You know what I mean? Like like what do you
Yeah.
do? So I think that's super clever.
Well, when I was welding, I had no idea this is where I will be. And during my welding career, I had an incident happen, and this is where everything turned. When the incident happened, and I couldn't able to weld for a while, and then the uh, the doctor said, "Hey, you're gonna have to, quit your welding career. You're gonna have to find something else to do because the way your injury is just not gonna work anymore, and you're gonna have to do something else." So now, middle of my whole career and doing great things, and I had whole plans and everything. So now I had an offer saying, "Hey, you can take insurance money and go on your own, or we can give you education and you pick and choose." I was like, "Okay, I'll take education." This is where my computer industry journey is started, learning computer and taking certification, went to the college, and that's how the whole thing turned into technology.
That is
Completely from physical and manual to computerized.
Yeah, so I love that. I have to ask you, you don't have to answer. And I think it's funny because this question is a medical question. So it's funny how everything comes together. But what happened? Tell me what happened.
Well, it was like an accident, something metal, pretty heavy metal fall on my hand, the right hand, and
Yep.
then my whole thumb was smashed up. So, when you're welding, it's a heat, you cannot have, injury like that to able to, weld, when you have something like that injury. So it was just coincident, accident happened and changed my whole life into the whole different direction. I knew I was going to go into technology, but I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Yeah. Isn't
But that
that
was,
fascinating?
yeah, that was one of the turning angle on my, in my life that I turned right into from there, and I never look back.
So okay, so now because I love Hinduism. Are you familiar with Vishnu,
Yeah,
Shiva, and Brahma? Okay,
definitely. Yeah.
all right. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So for those of you that may not be familiar with the three primary deities in Hinduism, you've got Vishnu, who is sort of like the head honcho. I want to say is the creator. And then there's Brahman, which is the maintainer. And there's like infinite numbers of them. So like infinite numbers of universes. And out of Vishnu's belly, a lotus flower comes up. And then here's Brahman. And then there's Shiva, which is the destroyer. And to me, it's easy to not like Shiva very much because, destruction is a little rough around the edges, in terms of humanity and pain and stuff. But I think that was a little bit of a Shiva blessing, right?
Yeah,
Was a little bit of a destroyer energy coming in and messing up your hand so that you could have this new reality.
correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. Um, so, I want to go back. So what city were you born in? What was your childhood home like?
Well, I come from completely farm life, and I born in all the way Punjab and Pagwada, and then city was Pandori, and that's where I was born, and so like 40, 50 houses barely, and going to farm, and even going to school was not that easy. 5 miles I had to walk to the school, and until 10th grade I was riding a bicycle to go to 13 miles every day, up and down. I wasn't even just me that time. I had to take two brothers with me, one on the front, one on the back, and riding them
No.
to the school every day,
No.
man. It wasn't that easy, yeah, life.
That's
And coming,
insane. That's so
yeah.
hard. It
And
is
then
so hard to
then
steer a
fog
bicycle.
and cold and everything, and you drive, you're riding a bike 13 miles, go to the school every
Yep.
day.
Yep. You know what? I have a little bit of a story. So North Dakota is one of the coldest states in the United States. It's like
Mhm.
-60 wind chill. It's insane how cold it gets. And I didn't have to walk as far. I think it was about a mile, mile and a half uphill. But that cold will change you forever as a human being. It is so painful. So I get that. But let's talk a little bit about this walking to school, biking to school. I love these stories because when I interview guests like you on my show, I like to go back to my kids and say I personally know someone who biked 13 miles to school or walked 5 miles to school every day. And it's so much different, and this goes for everyone out there. This is why meeting people is such a blessing. It's so much different for me to say, oh yeah, Jaswant, come watch the interview. I had my daughter watch an interview I did with Sarah M. She was enslaved in the Cambodian genocide to farm rice for like 3 years. And she was blind at night from malnutrition, and she survived by the skin of her teeth. She has an incredibly inspiring story. And so
Wow.
when my kids are like, I don't want to eat my rice, I'm like, well, Sarah M. was blind at night because she didn't get enough food, right? And then I can have them watch these conversations. So I might have my kids watch you talk about walking 5 miles to school the next time they complain that they have to get up to get a glass of water.
Yeah.
So to what degree do you think the trials and tribulations of your childhood led to future success?
Well, I think it's uh, my childhood. I didn't know, what was going on and stuff, and whatever parents want you to do, follow the education and do your best, and learning. But leaving the country, that's where everything is, start inspiring, and knowing, okay, there's a lot more to do, especially. Coming from India, and coming from the family, all the doctors and stuff, you really don't get to be more independent and stuff. So you pretty much depend on families, and helping you out and stuff. Coming here in US, and I didn't take any help from anybody. I went to school, and I did 2 3 different jobs, and just pretty much a self-made kind of situation, where I didn't have anybody saying, hey, you can stay in my house. I had to pay rent. I had to buy my own food, and nothing was free. I have to earn for everything and pay for everything, and able to achieve where I'm at today. And I think it's overall I'm pretty satisfied what I have achieved and happy. And now with the building this company, my goal is to many other employees want to achieve same goal I achieve, and helping other employees and stuff to able to achieve same goal I achieve. If I can come from very smaller town and able to work the way up and where I'm at, and I think anybody can do that. All we missing most of the time is guidance. All we missing sometime the path. When I used to teach Microsoft and all that IT career classes, and every one of my student is successful. Every one of them. And when they came in, they say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that." When I sit down and talk to them, no, they had a whole different things they want to do. The thing is, most of the time, what we do, we listen to friends, we listen to everybody else who's doing it, making a money, but you're not listening to yourself. What do you really want to do? What are you really into it? And because the thing is, for me, most people ask, you work 16, 17 hours. That's a lot of work. I says, no, I'm having a fun 16, 17 hours. The rest is like work for me. Just sitting around. I go to dinner. I'm so tired. I want to come home and sleep. As soon as I sit in front of a computer, 5 hours goes away. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I think if I had to guess, I would say that you're in childhood, you developed a really strong work ethic, or it's genetic. I don't know. Maybe you're just
No.
built differently, but
Yes.
typically I feel like it's environment, right? I feel like if you grow up in a really easy environment and you're not pushed and that's much different than 13-mile bike riding with two siblings on your bike. I mean, that is not easy to do. That is
No.
taxing. That's a lot like owning a company, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, believe or not, none of my family members like me. They are whole different, people and different. And I'm not even sure, how I able to adopt it. But for me was, I always wanted to be the best of the best. I always want to pick a good things from people, adopt in my life. Never want to think about negativity. Never want to think about anything like that. All I want to do just to build learning from people and making yourself best out of it.
Yeah. Well, I can't really summarize it any better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're unfamiliar, GoMeyra. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, GoMeyra.
GoMeyra. Yeah.
Yeah.
GoMeyra. If you're sick of having doctors be profoundly ignorant of your medical past, if you believe that that sharing will make medical decisions in your future better, well, then you know the solution now. You know that Jaswant is not only a welder of actual physical objects, he is a welder of cloud information and medical documents somehow. He did it. You can do it. If you made it this far in the episode, thank you so much. You know I love you. I'm proud of you. I want you to be happy in all of your endeavors in life. And if you're anything like me, you're very happy that you stayed and listened to this whole conversation. I feel inspired. And I'm really excited that Jaswant is now in my life. And he can, continue to inspire you by you Google searching him and checking out all the other interviews that he's done and all that sort of stuff. But I want to make sure that Jaswant, you have an opportunity to let folks know what you would like them to do or how they can get in touch with you.
Well, I think it's you can anyone can search my name, and one of the best things with me is I'm a very visible. I'm not a person you can't reach up to me and have conversation and stuff. So that's what I like to do. I like to meet people. I like to talk to people and inspiring them and inspiring from them. And so definitely they can go to my website and read about about us, and that will give you a lot of information who we are and who I am.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for swinging by the show, youtube.com/send it rising for the live. If you're listening after the fact on the podcast, Thank you so much. I very much appreciate you doing this. Reach out to me, info@senditrising.com. That's info at senditrising.com. And that's it for the show today. Special thanks to the incredible Jaswant Tony. Thank you for your inspirational story.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.